Welcome to another episode of What's Up Irvine. I'm Curtis Drever, your host, and this podcast is about everything that makes Irvine such a great city. Its people, culture, influence, and opportunities. My hope is that by following us, you'll learn something new and interesting about our city and feel more connected in our community. Today in the studio, I have with me a special guest, Tina Anderson of the Irvine 211 Marine Adoption Committee. Welcome, Tina.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. And we'll, before we jump into our interview here, I just wanted you graciously sent me your bio, so I had to condense it. You've done a lot already, so I had to shorten it a little bit, but I want to read just an abbreviation of some of the things you've done to give our viewers more background, and then we'll talk a little bit more. So thank you again for being here. So I'm going to just jump right into it. So Tina Anderson grew up back east, and since her youth has dedicated herself to serving others. After high school, Tina moved to California, where she met her husband, Gary, a Marine. Tina's passion from a young age included sports, photography, and dancing, and I love this part, where for a few years she performed as a semi-professional salsa dancer. I think that's awesome. So can you do some move? No,
I can, but
maybe,
not on camera.
Right? Okay. If we pay you enough, maybe, I don't know. A few years later, while Tina was looking for meaningful causes to support, she came across the Irvine 211 Adoption Committee. In 2007, the city of Irvine adopted the 211, which stands for 2nd Battalion, 11th Marines, stationed at Camp Pendleton, just south of us in San Diego. Tina volunteered with the 211 from its beginning, and from that, she decided that's where she really wanted to do, what she really wanted to do, dedicate herself in service to those who are serving our country, showing them how much they are appreciated for their services and sacrifice. She spends her time speaking to various groups on how to get involved, and each year, I know you plan and organize a lot of events for the Marines, such as Thanksgiving meals, toy drives, welcome home bags, baby shower, and I know it's a huge annual holiday party. So that's, I know, the tip of the iceberg, but thank you again for being with us and being able just to share about some of your passion for supporting the Marines through the 211. So before I kind of ask you what you do with the 211, I want to kind of jump into some questions about like who you are as a person. And this goes back to what is the best lesson your mom taught you about life?
Well, we were very poor growing up, and my mother raised 5 of us. I was the youngest, and she was very generous. And that's where we learned to serve others. No matter how little we had, our doors were always open. I had 3 teenage brothers at one point, and the house was always full of teenagers and friends and neighbors. And so that's one of the lessons she taught me is my generosity of giving of self and worth. It comes from my mother.
Generosity and giving. Wow, that's okay. Do you have a fond memory or story from your childhood that stands out?
Actually, my mother, what comes to mind is probably my love of dance. She started me in dance class when I was 3 years old, and it was just a hobby and fun. But she learned to dance and taught me jitterbug. And I just remembered doing the jitterbug in the dining room, just dancing with my mother. And she passed a few years ago. And that was one of the things that shocked me and brought back memories of, she said, I can't wait to get to heaven and dance again.
Okay. Wow.
So
did she teach you salsa, or that's on your own?
No, that was on my own through friends. I just started taking lessons and going out, and I just became so passionate about it that it at one point was dancing 20, 25 hours a week just for fun.
Wow.
So
I say that because one of my sons all of a sudden got into salsa dancing, and I'm like, okay, but
it's like a bug. Once you start, you love it, and there's so much to learn, and so.
So what in terms of what, was there a tipping point in your life that really changed your direction, changed your course?
Oh, well, that would have to be the first time I moved to California.
Okay.
It was not long after I graduated high school, and my brother was actually stationed at Camp Pendleton. He was a Marine.
Okay.
And my mother and I decided to move out here to be closer to him. And at that point, I didn't know what I was going to do with my life, and was introduced to my husband through mutual friends. And from there, I became a Marine wife for a few years and had our son actually at Camp Pendleton.
Okay. So you and your mom moved out here.
Yes.
You met, surprise, you met your husband.
Yeah, wasn't looking for a husband.
Wasn't looking. That's how it usually works. And so you became a Marine wife.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that answers some other questions, but we'll still talk about them. So, okay. Well, that's excellent. So you've been running a nonprofit for 15 years or so?
No. There was a president before me. I'm only the second serving president.
You've been involved for 15.
For the whole 15 years, I've been a volunteer.
So what is it like being president of a nonprofit?
Well, our nonprofit's a little bit different than most.
Okay.
We are so fortunate to have the city of Irvine, who officially adopted the Marine Battalion. So we run the 501c3 nonprofit, so we're officially a nonprofit. For the city, so to speak. So we're the liaison between the city and the Marines at Camp Pendleton.
Okay.
So even when we have our volunteer meetings, we have a liaison from the city and a liaison from the Marines so that we coordinate our events. We coordinate where the help goes. So we're not making wool socks if they're going to be in the desert training. We're actually providing things that are tangible and needed to the Marines and their families.
So you get the direct input from the Marines, from the representative, and the city's there, and then you're, okay.
And to where our nonprofit is a little different is we're not on the payroll from the city. So even though we represent the city through the adoption, we do not receive no money.
Okay.
They do support us, and they support our website. They give us meeting rooms, like I said, a liaison. They work with us. They help us to run some of the citywide toy drives, baby shower drives, and so forth. So we have a wonderful working relationship with the city, but no money from the city, and myself and the rest of the board do not take a salary.
Okay.
So we do this for free.
So actually, you mentioned something that I've seen even before I met you with the 211, the annual toy drive. That's all you, or the 211 behind that, but the city's promoting it,
yes,
right? So
yes.
as our followers see that, they're like, toy drive, December, and drop off at Great Park or at Civic Center. That's really you guys behind it, right?
Yes.
And making it all work.
Yes.
And the city's supporting it.
Yes. With this, absolutely the support of the city. We would not be successful without the city support, and we have a wonderful working relationship, so we're so very grateful for that. Yeah,
I went to one of your meetings just the other day, and you had a room full of people there, which was, I know there's lots of work to do, but it was, I mean, from a first-timer's perspective, it's good to see like just the collaboration and all the different representations there, and people that are just passionate like you are about serving our Marines. And so that was really, that was good for me to see. What do you like most about doing what you're doing?
I think you see the good in people. I think there's so much negative in the world that when people step up to donate, whether it's a baby gift or a toy, or they step up to volunteer. Some of our volunteers drive as far away as Long Beach to come to our meetings and then drive to Camp Pendleton when we do events at Camp Pendleton. So to see that passion and that love, and they're not getting anything in return for it. Nobody's getting paid. It's all because they want to thank the Marine sailors and families for the sacrifices that they make on a daily basis for us.
Wow.
So I love seeing the good in people.
So on the other side, what's one of the toughest things about doing what you do?
Because none of our positions are paid positions. And we don't have a Monday through Friday 9-to-5 workforce. When we do an event, it's all through volunteers, and you can't force a volunteer. You can ask them, are you available? Would you be willing to? So finding enough volunteers willing and available sometimes is the hardest.
Volunteers can always say no, right?
Employees cannot.
Different though. I guess they can, but you're paying them. That's differently. So So what have you learned? You've been involved for the last 15 years, running it for a little less, but what have you learned about just our Marines, the men and women that serve our nation, specifically the Marine Corps? What have you learned about them?
They're young. They're very young.
Wow.
That's the first thing that a lot of our volunteers, when we interact with them, we don't realize some of them are teenagers, fresh out of high school. They sign up to serve. Some of our higher ranking Marines, they're past 20 years and they're still only in their early 20s or 40s. And so very young.
Yeah, and younger every day. You're like,
younger
wow.
every day.
Yeah, that is. I didn't even, until you said that, I just didn't, age really wasn't. Anyways, that's interesting. So young.
Yes, young. And they come from all walks of life. So you don't think about that. You think of the Marine Corps as a whole unit, but it's made up of men and women from all different backgrounds, all different cultures from all over America, and seeing them having to get along, and maybe from where they're from, cultural differences or whatever, but having to work together as a unit to be strong.
Yeah, actually, how big is the 211? Because I don't know all the different hierarchies, and
Sure.
There's a 2nd Battalion, 11th Marines, but what does that mean in terms of?
So our battalion is part of the 11th Marine Regiment, which has station at Camp Pendleton is 111, 211, 511, and headquarters.
Oh wow, okay.
So that's several thousand Marines represented and sailors. 211, we're just under 800 Marines and sailors.
So 800.
Just a little under that, yeah.
Okay, so your team, so the 211, the Irvine Marine is supporting 800.
Plus family members
that's a
and
lot.
Children. Yes,
plus families.
It's a lot.
So that's several thousand actually then. I mean, families. Okay.
Yeah, it's over 1,000.
Over 1,000.
Close, yeah, be less than 2.
Okay, wow. I
didn't have an idea. It's a lot.
That's a lot.
I asked the gentleman who actually, Tim Sloat, came up with this idea. 15 plus years ago. And we asked him, why did you partner 211 with Irvine? Because we didn't know. And he said it was the size of the battalion and the size of the city. And at that point, we had one more battery within that's been since decommissioned. And so we actually had over 1,000 Marines. And the city of Irvine, over 300,000. We needed that size to be able to support a large battalion.
Okay.
So,
wow. Okay. So, and that was, okay, I didn't know. So that's you, I'm sure you know all that since you were there from the beginnings. So when you so what was that first meeting like? How did you hear again? I know I read it, but
Actually, I saw an article, and I assume at this point the city of Irvine placed it through their public information office. It was maybe a 2-by-2-inch article in the local newspaper, and it said the city of Irvine is adopting a Marine battalion. They're going to have a ceremony.
Okay.
And I looked at my husband, and we had only been in the city a couple years, and I had already been involved with the women's newcomers group here in Irvine. And I said, and I knew I had to gently tip my toe into the water because I know I'm so passionate that if I get involved in something, I can't say no.
So you were cautious.
So I was cautious, and I said, would you like to go to this and just see what this adoption ceremony is all about? And so we came. It was spectacular. The city of Irvine puts on amazing events.
They do.
And the entire Marine Battalion marched on to City Hall. They had the entire battalion, yes.
So hundreds.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Marched on to City Hall with the cross cannons because ours is an artillery battalion, so they're the big guns.
Wow.
There are photos of it, cross cannons in front of City Hall. They actually wanted to have somebody fire a cannon.
Oh, cool.
But that was vetoed because the City Hall is all glass, and they were like, we could shatter all of City Hall.
Yeah,
that was vetoed,
okay.
But amazing support. And it was, they had a reception afterwards, and they had an information table because there had been an exploratory committee with city liaisons and community. Should we adopt? What would it look like if we did?
Right.
So I went to the information table and signed my name up. And so there are actually a few members of our committee that were in that exploratory committee. And so they've actually been with our committee longer than the committee has even existed.
Okay.
And they still volunteer.
Wow. That's dedication.
Yes.
But still, so you signed up not
I
knowing
signed
you were
up not knowing what I was getting into.
committing the rest of your life to it. So, but obviously it was a good fit.
Yes.
A lot of work, but
yes.
I'm sure there's a lot of good that comes with the work, though. It's joyful work most of the time.
It's a lot of work. More volunteers would make it less work.
Okay.
But a lot of work. But what I have found interesting over the years is that it takes a simple thank you or a thank you card from the Marines or a story of how much it benefited somebody at Camp Pendleton to motivate our volunteers to keep going. It is as simple as that they do it not for publicity or anything else. And it's probably one of the hardest things we have in our committee is getting someone to take a title and actually step up to a position because everybody is a worker bee and they all love to work and serve, but they don't want limelight. They don't want credit for it.
I know. It's tough getting you here, actually.
I don't like limelight. I don't like credit because it's a team effort.
So actually that ties in. So, for our viewers, whoever's watching this, what can we, the City of Irvine, residents of the Irvine, anyone, or even outside the city, help? How can we help? How can our viewers help the 211 or help the adoption committee?
Well, as I said, Irvine's amazing. We have amazing community support now. So I don't want to disregard the support we already have.
It's not like you're not getting, you have good people.
We work with other nonprofits. We work with the Chamber of Commerce, with the Rotary Club, with Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts throughout the year. So we have YAT, the Youth Action Team, middle school and high school within the city schools. Amazing. They help us do welcome home posters and they create things for us. They write cards for the Marines to put in their welcome home bags. So the community steps up. Currently, we're doing a bedding drive. We're doing for welcome home bags. Some of our guys are deployed. So when the single guys come back to the barracks without any family in the area, there's a bag waiting on their bed, and it has just the simplest of toiletries and washcloth and
things
so
that you would think they have, but they don't, right?
But, the first time how that came about was when they went to war, and the entire battalion got sent overseas. Imagine being in the desert for 13 months. Even if you have a towel and you're coming back, it's going to be full of sand. So if they want to brush their teeth and take a shower, there's items on their beds. If there's no food available and it's the middle of the night and chow's not open, they have a snack bag waiting on their bed. It's not a full meal. It's granola bars and beef jerky and some things trail mix that will get them till morning until chow opens for them.
So it's a huge thing. They come back to something there that someone thought about putting there for them.
And that's where, even though as simple as it sounds, a welcome home bag will be a huge project for us because we have various groups in the area who supply things. Okay. Like the city is running the towel drive, and we're trying to do pillows and pillowcases for them. The government supplies those. They've been used. They've been cleaned. Okay. They're used. But to have something that's theirs, they know is new and fresh and clean to lay their head on. And we're not talking about a Tempur-Pedic pillow. We're talking about a $3.50 pillow from Target, and they're thrilled.
Yes.
So, but the community does support so much. So we're so very grateful. But ways that to get back to your question, ways they can get involved is you can go to our website, www.irvine211marines.org. The City of Irvine actually hosts it. www.irvine211marines.org.
Okay, maybe we can throw that we'll throw that in the footnotes or the lower
part. Right, and if
they
go to the City of Irvine website, they can just type in 211 Marines, and we'll pop up. The city hosts our website for us. Another way the city supports us, we don't have the technology to do that or the funds.
Volunteerism, though, is...
Volunteerism, to get people to sign up, come to our meetings, get involved. We have positions open, volunteer coordinator, treasurer, things... I'll bet you won't get paid, but it will benefit the Marines directly, and it's all a necessity to make the organization work to be able to do all these projects. If you want to just do handwritten cards at home, if kids want to make posters, we have events and projects you can do at home with your group of Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts or in elementary school. We've had preschools make cards for us, and the cutest cards,
Those
of course.
go a long ways. Yeah.
And the Marines, we hang these up in their barracks before they come home. And some of them, we are told by their superiors, months later, they're still hanging, that the Marines love seeing those and created for them.
Someone cares, someone took time to write a simple note or draw.
Especially during pandemic, we got the nicest letter from one of the Marines who had been deployed, and they were being quarantined for 2 weeks in their barracks before leaving, 6 months overseas, quarantining for 2 weeks before coming back, and they weren't expecting anything. They were expecting to come back to their barracks and have nothing and to be stuck in their barracks for a few weeks.
Right.
And the community stepped up, and we did a bedding drive, and we did snacks. And we had a 13-gallon bag full of snacks for them, plus all their toiletries and bedding and handwritten cards.
That's huge.
And
that's a huge
the
factor.
Marine wrote back and said, I had no idea that we were going to expect this, and you will never know how much it meant to come back and know that somebody cared that we were coming back home.
That's cool. That's really...
Yes. That's why we do it.
That's why you do it.
That's why we do it.
It's that. That's incredible. So thank you for sharing that. So I guess a few other things. I guess I think you've shared for like why you do it and some of the stories. You shared some stories there and why people volunteer there. And so back to you a little bit more since you're in our city here. Like what else whenever you have free time? Do you have a hobby or anything else? Do you still salsa dance? I think I asked you that earlier, but
I'm sidelined right now due to
Okay.
injuries.
What are you doing? What else are you doing whenever you have free time?
Whether it's my cell phone or my camera, just not professional, but I take photos. I love to photograph. My family knows from the time my son was young, mom's going to take pictures, and I also have 2 rescue dogs. And so those are kind of,
Those are a hobby.
Yes.
More a hobby. Those are work too.
But, they keep me company and keep me active and
Okay. What's a favorite food or dish what's your go-to for food if you were going to go out, I guess?
If I had my druthers, I'm Italian.
You're Italian.
So you put pasta in front of me and the girl is happy.
Okay.
So
do you have maybe I shouldn't ask this. Do you have a favorite restaurant, an Italian restaurant in Irvine, or do you go somewhere else? I know we have a lot of good Asian restaurants here.
Actually, and there's a story behind it. Our favorite Italian restaurant is not in Irvine.
Oh,
it's in San Clemente.
Okay.
Sonny's. It's just good home family recipes. It's been there since the early 80s, and it's the first place my husband took me on a real date.
Oh, well, there's some meaning there.
There's some meaning.
Okay.
And good Italian food.
No wonder it's so good.
Yes.
So, okay. The food was good too, but that also. Okay.
Yes.
Well, that's all right. We can share things even if it's not from Irvine. We can. So, what would you like as a takeaway? I think we'll I thank you for being here in the studio again, but what else, or is there something else you would like our viewers to know about you, like a takeaway?
I think the word passion comes to mind. I'm very passionate about my family, about my friends, my dogs. And when I get involved in something, everyone knows against my better judgment sometimes, I will throw everything into it, lack of sleep, injure myself, whatnot, just because I think that was maybe instilled in me from my mother.
Yeah,
definitely my
sounds like
Marine brother who, being the baby, you never said quit, you never gave up,
commitment,
you never
right?
gave
Isn't
in.
that one of the commitment, dedication?
Yeah. So, I don't give up easily.
Okay.
So.
Well, I'll thank you again. I have a little bit of history. I've done some projects with the 211, and I remember this was maybe 8 years ago or so, we did some of the welcome baskets
Yes,
at the church we were involved with, in fact, here on this campus. And I remember some Marines drove up and somebody from the 211 came and were like really thankful. So we had a little bit of helping with one project a long time ago.
True. I remember those baskets.
And, you know, I have 2 nephews that were both in the service. One's still serving, not in the Marines, but still serving our country. So I think there's many of our viewers that resonate with what you're doing. They support our troops because it's such a, I don't know, there's a big sacrifice there, and I think people want to help too. We
have several of our volunteers that do it in honor. One does it in memory of her father, who was a Marine. She was never raised during that when he was a Marine, but she does it to honor him. We have another volunteer who her husband was Army.
Yes.
And he passed away, and she loves to give back. So we've had there. Air Force guys who have volunteered with us.
So even if you're not...
not even Marines. All branches, of course.
You want the passion and dedication. There you go.
Yes.
So, well, thank you again for being a guest here on What's Up Irvine. And for those of you who are watching the show, if you like what you're seeing there, please share this and follow us on whatsupirvine.org. Or also, if you know of anyone or some topic that you think is of interest, send us an email to info@loveirvine.org and let us know if there's someone in the community that you think would be really good for the show, and we'll talk to them. And also, thank you again for being with us here, and we'll see you again